You're listening to Were You Still Talking?
They pump out your blood and they pump in a new batch of blood, and all of it is the blood of children.
All the big stars are going to be on TV now. I mean, it's just the way it's going. Your role, I think, will be played by Brad Pitt.
What'd you wear?
I wore my loincloth wrapped around my feet.
Are you going by John today?
And that's absolutely true. You feel it in every cell in your body.
Yeah, you can bend the truth and bend the visualizations no matter what your political affiliation.
You could have an alpaca. A girlfriend's daughter recently got married and they had llamas or alpacas at the wedding.
A recording room. They recorded a couple songs in the kitchen of Rumbo.
So, wait, you microdosed before this, right?
What? Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This is Joel, and I am doing a pre-intro because I kind of messed up the intro a little bit. In my studio today is Jim Meacham, who retired as head of the InfoGraphics lab at the University of Oregon. I messed that all up in the intro. I'm talking about my studio and being back for the first time. And because I'm back for the first time, there are some technical issues. The second camera didn't really work because of the way I set it up, because I used Zoom. And I've been using Zoom for Reels. I tried to use it as a two-camera studio setup, which did not work out so well. So if you watch it on the YouTube, then some of the stuff with Jim is going to be a still picture. Well, almost all of the stuff with Jim is going to be a still picture. And my camera is the only one that really worked. But you will be able to see a lot of the books we're talking about and things like that. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. And now I'll go into the live intro that I did for the actual podcast. Hey, this is Joel Albrecht. Welcome back. This is Were You Still Talking? And today I am in my studio for the first time in, I think, a year and a half. I'm back in the studio, even though it still looks like a Zoom call. It's not. It's me setting up cameras so I can record in the studio. And I am here with someone I've known since probably I was a preteen when he first met my brother, and he started his profession when I was still in my 20s as cartographer, and became head of the cartography department at the University of Oregon. He's had a long and storied career. I'm really, 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 really glad to have him in the studio. I'm going to go through his list of books in a minute. But first, I'll just say hello. What's going on, Jim?
Hi. Oh, Joel, it's great to be here. And I've known you for a good part of both of our lives. And your brother Pete was my best friend for in high school and for many years. So I remember you as kind of a little brat. No, I'm just kidding.
I probably was. That was all my brother's fault, though.
Yeah, no. Anyway, no, it's great to be here and have a chance to chat with you.
It's awesome to have you here. I'm just going to show, if I keep talking, I think it'll stay on speaker view, so I think it'll stay on this camera. And I'm just going to show around the studio a little bit, because just to prove that I'm actually in the studio and we're in the same place. This is the massive Castle Studios, massive Castle. There's the other recording device. So I am really in studio. It's absolutely thrilling. It's thrilling. It's thrilling. And real quick, as a way of introduction, let me just go through these books on camera. So you did a lot of maps before this, but the first book I got was this Atlas of Lane County. And is this the first or second edition?
That's a first edition.
That's the
Joel.
first edition.
Yeah.
Because I also have the second edition. But it was too heavy. There's too many books. And then the Atlas of Oregon.
Yeah, I worked on that with Bill Loy and Stuart Allen of Raven Maps and Aileen.
Just a teeny little quick read. The amount of information in these it's hard to explain. It's a lot. And then this came after Atlas of Oregon, right?
It did.
So this is the Archaeological and Landscaping in the Mongolian. How do you pronounce that?
Altai.
Altai. It is Altai. It's just like it looks. So that was a quick little project, right?
Yeah, there's only about 16 years worth of field work and field research on petroglyphs and rock monuments in that very far western corner of Mongolia in the Altai Mountains. I worked on that with Esther Jacobson and Gary Tepfer. It was really an amazing effort. I was out there 3 years in the field.
3 years. Okay, I was
excuse me,
remember.
three summer seasons, field seasons.
3 summer seasons
of the 16 field seasons. I was out there with GPS unit and documenting those features. It was really, really exciting.
And that was the first time that had been done, right?
In that area, yeah, the work that Esther and Gary had started in the early 90s was the first time that scientists really went in there working with Mongolian and Russian archaeologists to document all this really rich concentration of archaeology in that area. And then my role was as a mapper, cartographer, to help in that documentation. And a lot of publications came out, but the Atlas was really a summation of a lot of that work.
It's pretty amazing. And I remember you saying you ate a lot of mutton.
Yeah, like 3 times a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a Russian camp cook, and that was kind of a mainstay. Usually a little bit of mutton grease mixed in with the cereal in the morning, and then boiled mutton in the afternoon. And then something similar in the evening. But it really helped keep us warm. That, like, the first season I was there in '97, it was really it was cold that summer. It snowed on us, and the mutton really would keep you warm at night. The high energy food it was. We also had potatoes and onions and.
So it snowed on. Is it summer? Was it summer there?
Yeah, it was summer.
It was.
Yeah. It's in the northern hemisphere.
Because of where they. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just higher. It's just high elevation. It was just kind of a pretty cold summer relative. But some of the other seasons I was there, it was pretty hot and a lot of bugs and things. But that first one was pretty cold.
It's like Mongolia over there.
It is. It's like really like Mongolia. It is Mongolia.
And so now we're going to get to the latest. Well, there's a couple other books in front of me, if you can believe that.
Sure.
He's had a.
Hey, did you mention I'm Jim Meacham?
Did I? Did I not say that you're Jim Meacham? Oh, well, hopefully people have still listened.
Yeah.
They'll say on the title as well. So.
Okay, good.
It's Jim Meacham, if I forgot to mention.
Yes.
Did I really not say that? Oh my gosh.
That's okay.
Well, there's a second time for everything. This is one of his latest projects, Atlas of Yellowstone. This is another first. This was the I'm showing this to the audience on YouTube. So if you're listening to this, you can see these pictures on YouTube, and you can always Google any of these. Atlas of Yellowstone, massive project, and now this is the first edition I'm holding in my hand. You are now on. About to release second.
Yeah, we just finished the second edition and turned it over to the University of California Press at the beginning of this year, or the early spring, and I just saw a photo from our publisher of the advanced copy. So it just had come over from, I think it was printed in Singapore. So that's very exciting. And the second edition builds on the first edition, but is about 50% new or updated material in it. We really expanded the scope of the project in it, and it's to coincide with the 150th anniversary of the beginning of the founding of Yellowstone National Park back in 1872. It was March 1st, and so it's scheduled to be published in January. It'll probably come out. It's probably going to be available sooner, but it's so it's to help celebrate that really landmark time for the first national park in the world.
That's amazing. And that was set aside by, was it Roosevelt?
Grant.
Oh, Grant. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had the wrong president.
Yeah. No, it was. There is a Roosevelt arch that Teddy Roosevelt had built at the entrance there at Gardner, Montana. So I can, so he's prominently figures in conservation and national parks in the country. But yeah, it was 1872, and so we try to look at that, like how has the park evolved in 150 years, and then sort of thinking the next 150 years too.
And I really, to get an idea of 1872, I think that was 3 years before Custer's Last Stand. Do you know, actually, I think the date of Custer's Last Stand was something like 76. So that gives you an idea of what was going on in that area right there in 1872. It's pretty incredible that they, at that point, decided to set aside a national park.
Yeah, I mean, one of the sad stories in the national parks is that the indigenous people there were dispossessed of the land and pushed off the land.
Yeah, and that's right. That's the other side of it.
Yeah, and we cover some of that, and in that really important part of that story, in the Atlas. But there's been a lot of connections. There's like 42 tribes that have connections to the Yellowstone National Park area, and we help tell that story and have the American Indian place names for the different tribes are mapped out. We work with ethnographers on that, and they worked with the tribes on that to document that. So that's an important part, a really important story that we cover in the.
That's
Atlas.
actually it's a whole chapter in here, right?
Yeah, well, there's several page pairs on that on those stories. Yeah. Yeah,
it's so packed full of information.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. If you've never thought of going to Yellowstone, just get the Atlas for now, because it's too crowded anyway. But if you've been to Yellowstone, you definitely want to look at this.
Yeah.
We went there. My gosh, it's been 5 years ago now, and we're just blown away by how the bison are walking across the road, and they're right there everywhere. And then realizing that I believe these are the only actual full bison left. Isn't that right? That herd is the only.
There are herds. There's conservation herds around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were definitely an origin herd. That was one of the last areas where there were bison in the country or in the world, for North America, for U.S. In North America, and they were used to seed other conservation herds, and we have a map on that around the country. And so there's. But it is definitely one of the most significant herds or group of herds in a natural setting in the country. And we have new maps kind of showing the movement and the migration patterns and how bison have relearned their migration.
That's wow.
Yeah, it's just like there was just like a few animals, and we mapped out how they begin to spread and seasonally spread throughout the park, and there's different survival strategies of their seasonal migrations, and we map all that. We have really detailed GPS data we got from the wildlife biologists, and so there's like the latest biology research. We've tried to capture that in the maps in the text. In the book, so that's pretty cool. And we do that with a lot of other wildlife species too, particularly carnivores and carnivore interactions. How like wolves and cougars and bears interact on a through like a week or a daily pattern, diurnal patterns.
Interesting.
And so we kind of tell those stories through maps, and that's new that we hadn't had in the Atlas. And another new thing we have in there, we actually have a page pair with a graphic novel telling the story of Wolf 911M. We have his life story there of through when he was a pup up through he was part of different packs, and he was a lone wolf, and then he became the alpha, and then up to the very final battle where he brought down an elk when he was injured, and another wolf pack came in and attacked him and stole his prey, and he died. So
Just
So anyway,
my studio's falling apart. Keep talking.
Anyway, so there's a lot of new things. We tried some new things in the Atlas, and it's we're really happy the way it turned out. A lot of new data, a lot of new scholarship, and exciting things about the park and actually the Greater Yellowstone region.
And then after that, you did the wild migrations. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was finished before the second edition of the Yellowstone Atlas, and that's a book we did with the University of Wyoming, the Wyoming Migration Initiative with Matt Kaufman and his group, and that one really focuses on deer and pronghorn, elk, bison, moose, and other ungulate species, and really looks in detail of the significance and the importance and the ecology of all these long distance migrations. Out of this group, the longest mule deer migration in the world was discovered by Hall Sawyer, one of our co-authors on that, which is from the Red Desert, which is south of Pinedale, Wyoming. This is all south of Yellowstone National Park. And the migration went up to the Hoback, which is up by Jackson Hole, or south of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And it was over 150 miles. And they thought these animals just traveled maybe 10, 20 miles. But they found this long migration. And since then, and we mapped this and then we post it on Twitter every year, we found that they actually go up even further, even over a couple hundred miles all the way into Idaho.
That's awesome. Where on Twitter? Where can people see that?
If you go to Wyoming Migration Initiative, that is you can get a link to Twitter from there.
Because those are the kind of things that I think social media is really good for.
Yeah,
so
we have animation showing the animal moving and showing that they go to they kind of race we show multiple years where the little deer is racing each other up on that, and you can see how what's called fidelity, how they track really pretty close year to year exactly where they go on this north-south migration. So we really learn a lot and about these animals and their culture, where the mother teaches the fawn where to go. It's passed from knowledge is passed on from generation to generation, and you see that in the research that the biologists are doing in Wyoming.
Oh, that's amazing too.
Yeah.
They have.
Yeah, it's really there's some really cool stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The takeoff project on that is now Matt Kaufman has started working with about 60 to 100 biologists around the world, a global migration initiative.
Awesome.
And that includes elephants and wildebeest in Africa and Mongolian gazelles and red deer in Europe, and and it's going to be a global atlas. And it'll be an online atlas, so we're involved in that project too.
Oh, that's great, because I know I used to watch this wild safari thing on YouTube all the time, where they have a live safari every day, and they went to the now I forgot where it is. It's where the wildebeest migrate. I forgot the name of that. Thousands of tourists go there every year to watch this unbelievable migration. It looks like probably what the buffalo looked like here at one time. It's just millions of wildebeests migrating across Africa for hundreds of miles and through rivers and through lions and tigers and alligators. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. I cannot remember what the name of that area is.
Is that the Kalahari or the Serengeti?
Is it the Serengeti? It's a certain delta. Oh my gosh, I'm completely forgetting the name of that. Oh well.
That's why we need to look up a map.
Yeah, that's why exactly. Need that world migration.
Yeah, we need that atlas.
Yeah. Or I need a young Jamie, like another podcast has, that can look it up for me while I'm. But I never waste time with that. Oh, weird! Someone's at the door. How bizarre! That was a doorbell. If you didn't hear that. Someone's scaring our cats. So you spent also a lot of time in Yellowstone doing these books.
Yeah, we'd get to travel there a couple times a year, maybe even more. And the process was, we didn't spend a lot of time in the field. We were mainly at their headquarters, and we would have meetings set up that had been coordinated with one of our co-authors, who's the mapping GIS director there at the park, and Rodman. And she would help us schedule 2-hour slots with like the historian, the archaeologist, the wildlife biologist, the fish biologist or wildlife biologist. Excuse me, the bear cougar biologists or the fire management people. Any of the experts. The way we approach it is we would meet with them for 2 hours slots to sort of look at, like the atlases have. I don't know if you want to show one of them, but it has page pairs, what we call, and each page pair is a topic. And for instance, you could just there's one geothermal activity.
So we would switch my camera,
and we would sit down with one of the park geologists who does the inventory for the geothermal activity, and we would list out on a whiteboard what are the stories, what are the big stories for this topic, and you could have just books on geothermal activity or grizzly bears, and it's like, well, what are the 10 things? What do you have? How would we map that? We think about spatial context, we think about temporal context, we think about other variables or important things that about that topic, and then we start talking to them about, well, what data is available, because you have to map it and graph it, and then I just sketch out. I would sketch out on a whiteboard what the page would look like. Like this map goes here with a box, or this graph goes here. This is all happens in like 2 hours. So after
Wow.
like discussing the topics with them, then we kind of get the list, and then I kind of start visualizing how it's going to look on the page, and I go up and I sketch it out on a whiteboard, and then there's kind of a magic happens where the expert or the biologist or the fire manager or the geologist they can start to actually see their data in that empty box that I've sketched on that page on the whiteboard. And so we always kind of start it. And so by the end of the meeting, we have a photo of that mock-up, we call it, and we have a list of what data and what the storylines are. And that's our starting point to work with this expert on building the maps. And so, and we do that over and over and over again and so by the end of the day, we're wiped out and we're ready to just kind of go for a walk and have a beer, or go have a beer and go for a walk and have dinner, and walk on the boardwalks at Mammoth Hot Springs or around, or look at the elk that are wandering around outside the park headquarters. But we do that like 3 or 4 days, and we have like maybe 20. Or maybe a dozen to 20 meetings during that time period, and then we like to have a day where we get to go out or we get a chance to go out in the field with one of the people in the park, or Ann, or off on our own. But we do that. That's how we kind of compile and really connect with the experts, and then we follow up with them. So these atlases, like the first edition, took about almost 10 years to get done, and the second edition was about 3 years. So all the follow-up, and then we go back and reconnect, and then get the data, start building the maps, and then work with the experts to look through the maps, and then we ask them to draft like the first 500 words of text that go with that. So you answer your question about getting to go to Yellowstone. We go a couple times a year and have that same kind of process, and we get to go out in the field and see things, but a lot of it really happens with us just working closely with the people that work out in the park all the time. And there's experts in Bozeman and elsewhere, or Jackson Hole, or down in the Tetons that we work with too. But it's quite a process, and then we're working with those experts all up until the very end. They're looking at the very final pages, and up until we finish the book. And this last we just completed around the holidays this last year, or maybe it was in January or February. We got the very last pieces of content into the book, and then got it off to the publisher in time.
That's so interesting because it is what you're describing is so much like how people do movies. That's how, it's basically how scripts get written. Is a very similar matter. You know, everyone sits in a room, except they're just putting out ideas, whereas you're getting facts. So it's just
it's interesting. And it's an interesting
Yeah.
analogy. It is. Yeah, we kind of think of it as like this big production. Like, you know, when you look at film credits, there's like all these people that have produced it, all the producers and all the companies involved. It's kind of like it's a big. There's a lot of people. There's a cast of hundreds that work on an atlas, and just like on a film, there's a cast.
Right.
There's casts of I mean all the people that are involved, and you look at the acknowledgements page, you see that it's just we're the editors and I'm the cartographic editor. So and then I work with other cartographers. Alethea Steingesser is the one of the key cartographer designer. I work closely with her, and then but there's all these other cartographers and then all these other experts. So it goes on. And Andrew Marcus is the lead editor on it.
And you, I mean, when you're working on it through the U of O, right? I mean, the U of O is also a big part of this project, but also there's a couple other universities, right? Or
the first, I mean, we had help from the University of Wyoming and and Montana State.
Montana State, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't want to say the wrong school.
No, it was the University of Wyoming and Montana State, and they helped us with this. But it's the U of O, particularly on the second edition, is really the key university, and it's copyrighted by the University of Oregon. So.
Oh, you did say, yeah. I was going to say that's University of Oregon for people who aren't duck fans.
Yeah.
I always say U of O.
Yeah, and then but the Wyoming Atlas, the Wyoming Migration of Ungulates Atlas, that was a joint University of Wyoming, University of Oregon publication, and it's jointly copyrighted, and so that was really a joint effort, and we continue to do work with the University of Wyoming. That's been a great relationship, and this global migration initiative is coming out of the University of Wyoming.
And you say you continue to do this work, but you actually retired recently. I did. From what you tell me.
Yeah, I did that. Now I'm kind of in post-retirement, or I'm in post-retirement right now. But no, I finished up 33 years at the U of O in the end of June. I can't think of I don't think I could have asked for a more rewarding or exciting career. I really have enjoyed it, or meaningful career. And while I agreed to stay on while we're looking for they're going to be searching for a new director of the InfoGraphics lab. That's the lab. You had said the cartography department. It's really.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're in the geography.
I did say it wrong.
Yeah, we're in the geography department, and it's the InfoGraphics lab.
And this is Jim Meacham I'm talking to.
That's right. That's right. And you're Joel Albright.
Joel Albright. We've only known each other 40 years, I guess, because probably more than that. 33 years is about 50. That's about when I started
just
drumming.
About 50.
Just about. Yeah, that's probably right. Since I was not even born. Before I was born.
48 years. I was 48 years. I think I met Pete
that makes sense.
when I was like 14 or 15.
Wow. Yeah. So I would have been 7 or 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that much younger than him. 6 years. But yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that was those were good days.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's been great working on atlases. I really cut my teeth learning how to do atlas making from my mentor Bill Loy and Stuart Allen, and that's Bill Loy is who I took cartography from, and then the Atlas of Oregon project, which you showed example was, we've actually modeled a lot of our work after that project, and it's been a great model, even though I try to break out of that model sometimes, like with the Altai project, but in design, book design, we kind of come back to it because people really like it and respond well to it. So it's been great.
So how did you decide to become a cartographer? That's always an interesting story. I mean, it's kind of not the usual field, I guess.
Yeah, no, map making
field.
is not.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of times I'll say cartographer, and they'll say, "Oh, you're a photographer," because they don't quite hear it.
Yeah.
Or if you say you're a geographer, they'll think you know all about rocks.
Right.
Yeah, you're a geologist, but anyway, no, I got into it. When I went back to school I had first kind of started out in business, and I was in restaurant management when I was a young adult, and then I decided to go back to school. I really got excited about the outdoors and environmental issues, and I thought I wanted to be like an environmental planner of some sort, or study something in the environment. And I started going to school back. I went to Lane Community College, and I took my first geography class from Joe Searle, Geography of Oregon, and it was like, wow, this is really relevant. This is great stuff that I'm learning in the Geography of Oregon, learning about physical and human cultural geography, and learning about place and developing a geographic perspective, and that really that stuck with me. And and so I was taking lots of geography. I thought I wanted to maybe be a hydrologist, which a lot of geographers are, or a physical geographer. And then I took Bill Loy's cartography class at the U of O, and I just loved it. When I was in high school, I really loved art classes and designing and creating things. And cartography was really a way to create graphics and maps, and it's really a combination of geography and art. And graphic art, and so it really resonated. And I kind of never looked back. I really got into cartography, and I worked hard to get different part-time jobs, or not part-time, but temporary jobs, like with the BLM, and then I got a job with the State of Oregon Parks on a survey crew, and I was on a survey crew with the BLM, and so I was kind of applying mapping, not cartography, but mapping skills, building those skills. And then I got a job with ODOT as a cartographer, and making this is right when digital cartography just was getting going. So I got a chance to make some of the first digital maps at ODOT, county maps. Columbia County was the first digital county map in the state of Oregon with ODOT. And so I was kind of coming up with new ways to use this software, CAD software at the time. And so that was it was an exciting time. I learned how to, in class, I learned how to do manual cartography with pen and ink, but then at the state, they were just getting these digital CAD design tools. This is back in 1985 and 86. And so I got a chance to really just learn them on the job. And it was really a great time to do that. So they were making city maps, and I started making county maps, and then and also did I had worked for the state parks, and I went over there and I continued doing some state park work. I did the Beverly Beach State Park master plan in a CAD system, and it was their first digital master plan with maps.
That's amazing.
It was really.
I mean, I'm trying to picture that. Were those like on floppy disks, or were they? Do you remember even what they used?
Reel to reel.
Did they? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like we would make the map, the CAD map, and then when we wanted to plot it on this big Xionetics pneumatic plotter, we had to actually copy the plot file on a reel to reel tape, and then take it over and put it on another reel to reel that ran the plotter.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so
that was like a mainframe computer?
It was a mini. They called it a VAX mini computer.
A VAX mini computer. Wow.
Yeah. So it was
for you real computer buffs.
Yeah, it was it was Unix operating system, but it was really, they called it clicks. well, no, actually it was unit. No, I'm sorry. That came later. That came with the workstation. It was VMS.
So did you have to learn a lot about those? I mean,
yeah, I had to learn kind of all sorts of new stuff. I had taken like Fortran and Basic in college.
Okay, because I remember back then there was no Windows, there was no Apple operating system. You couldn't sit down.
It's all command line, and you got a notebook in front of you that you look up commands.
Wow.
So, but anyway, it was really exciting time, and then I came back to the U of O, and we started the InfoGraphics lab. Bill Loy had recruited me to come back, and he got a grant to get an Intergraph workstation, educational department, National Department of Education grant, and Bill and I started the lab in 1988 on July 1st, and I came back to work, and then I started the master's program at the same time.
Wow!
And we just started making. We made the first CAD CAD map of the campus from photogrammetrically created files. Digital files. They flew the campus, and then I stitched them together to make a campus-wide map. There were tiles of CAD maps that had been done using photogrammetric techniques. So we got that from CH2M Hill, and then we created basically a CAD database of the campus. Started that, and then I started working on the Atlas of Lane County, and then also the Atlas converting the Oregon State Highway map from manual sheets to and overlays to a digital form. They wanted to do that, so I started doing contracts with ODOT, and that. Through the U of O, and when I was a graduate student, and then that became the basis of my thesis research, was that technological transition from manual to digital of the Oregon State Highway map.
Oh, that's so interesting. Wow. How lucky you are to have be an Oregon resident instead of California or New York or something.
Yeah, no, it was great. And when I first started thinking about being a cartographer, I thought, how many cartographers are there? I knew the state highway map. I thought, wouldn't it be great to be able to be the cartographer of that? And it turns out I got to do that.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's great.
Yeah, and we continued doing ODOT work at the InfoGraphics lab for many years and a lot of students got experience through that. So they would work on that project, on that effort, and helping. We were kind of like a research arm to the ODOT mapping group up there. So
wow, that's so cool.
So I did that for years.
And you have students that have gone on to great things. You actually brought some examples of what some of your students are doing now, one of which I played in the band with.
Yeah, Riley Champagne. I'm really, I think one of the most rewarding aspects of my career, my job, has been working with students. And I teach the advanced cartography class every year. And then we recruit from that class or elsewhere students to work in the lab, undergraduate and graduate students, and they get to hone their skills working on these projects. Like we were just talking about Yellowstone, and we work on a lot of other projects too throughout in the lab. But it really prepares them well. And then we've had students go off to the New York Times. Aaron Eigner worked there for many years as a graphic designer. Riley, who you just mentioned, he's now at National Geographic, and then Christina Shintani, they both have.
That's okay.
They both have maps in the March. They usually have maps in every issue, but you can see here this one on rivers. This really beautifully done spread on rivers. Setting rivers free, that Christina Shintani, who took my advanced cartography class, and then she also studied rivers in our department in geography, is working there. And then Riley Champagne, who's done a lot of work, he did one on the looking at the borderlands in the Hindu Kush Himalaya, and the conflicts going there, and so just
awesome.
Really beautiful stuff.
That is really awesome.
And both of them, are just doing really, really great stuff. And then another student of mine who used to work at National Geographic. She's at the Washington Post now, is Lauren Tierney, and she's doing some of the most amazing cartography there. There was a front page. It was really a solemn piece, a somber piece that she did. She did a map when we reached the 100,000 mark of deaths in COVID, and it was these illuminating lights on a 3D map that showing the number of deaths, like a surface of. I mean, each ray was represented. The number of deaths in that city, and
wow.
so it was just like it was really a memorial piece, and it was on the front page of the Washington Post. So she's done that, and then she's done a lot of really creative stuff with like covering the autumn changing of the leaves color, and then incorporating those colors into maps. So it's just really artistic, really works of art. And but she's doing great things there. And then we've had a lot, students are throughout government, throughout private industry that have been through the Geography or the InfoGraphics Lab program that are out there. So we have we're one of the top labs in cartography and departments that have students that are out in the workforce. So really, I'm really proud of that. And of course, I'm not, in the lab. Alethea Steingesser and Joanna Merson, the other staff there, they really help with a lot of that mentoring, they're a big part of that whole process. So it's a team effort.
Right.
So
how big is it? How big is the InfoGraphics Lab? I've never had a real picture of that.
It's we've had up to like 10 people working in that lab.
Mm-hmm.
And we usually have it can range from like 3 full-time to 6 full-time people, depending upon all the activities that are going on there. And then we can have anywhere from 4 to 8 students working in there.
Uh-huh.
And we have, they're not necessarily, everybody's not there at the same time. So
right.
It's I'm trying to think square footage, maybe 800 square feet, 1,000 feet.
Yeah, I was curious. It's like how many students are going through there all the time, and how many. I'm just curious.
No, it's probably we can right now. We probably have like 6 students, and sometimes we get up to like 10. But when we're really humming along on a big project, there could be maybe 12 students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. And now, what are you going to do now that you're thinking about retiring?
Well, I actually am retired, but I'm definitely phasing out of the InfoGraphics Lab.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have an idea for a book on map design.
Oh, awesome!
And a small one, not a big textbook, but one that really takes my class that I've been honing for the last few decades, and take those concepts and a lot of examples of the work that we've done, and put it into a book that can be used by a lot of people that are making maps in different agencies or GIS, Geographic Information System settings, where they're they might not be focused on cartography, but these concepts and fundamentals could be really helpful for them to improve the quality of their maps, but also could be used in a class too. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I want to work on, and I've got the the material for my class to do that. But yeah, doing some just projects on my own. There's a variety of things. I don't know if I really want to.
No, I mean, but you also have traveled a lot. Besides making maps, you've been all over the map.
Yeah, no, we have. As far as other ideas, Janet, my partner, and I, we'd love to go back to Scotland and Iceland.
That sounded amazing, Scotland.
Yeah, and she's a wool spinner, and so we really have this like to include thinking about going places where there's really interesting sheep and that whole aspect. And I thought it'd be great to make some maps of like some like there's this one breed of sheep that eats seaweed.
Oh wow! Really?
The Ronaldsay sheep up in northern Scotland, and it would be kind of cool to figure out a way to go there and check out the maps.
Seaweed? Do they smoke a pipe and have big forearms?
No. No, but it's just something that's developed where that particular sheep there's a whole history of it, and I'm just learning about it, but where there's a wall that keeps those sheep from going inside the inner part of the island because their digestive system, has been developed to eat seaweed rather than grass. And I think it had to do something with the land use, the land ownership policies, kind of push those sheep into those areas on the edge of the island. Anyway, there's just a lot of really interesting things around that, and the soy sheep, which is on one of the islands on the western side of Scotland, that's also real interesting. We went down and visited the soy. An owner that has one of the conservation soy herds in southern Oregon in the Applegate, and that's like another fascinating story. And that's the oldest species of sheep known, of domesticated sheep.
Oh wow! I had no idea.
Yeah, and wow. Stuart Allen, it was making a map of the island, of the Soy Island, where those sheep are, and they're basically semi-wild or feral sheep. They live basically on their own, but they're studied a lot. So I think, there's just these really interesting things around the, subjects that would be kind of cool.
I had no idea there were semi-feral sheep that existed.
Yeah, well,
that's a new one.
They were managed, and then now they're on their own in this island. If you look up soy sheep, so there's a lot of really interesting things. I can kind of pursue these kinds of stories.
So that's one of your favorite. Scotland, I guess, is one of your favorite.
Yeah,
places.
Scotland. Yeah, and I like a lot of people. There's a lot of places I like. I really love northern Italy too. We did a trip there. I went to a mountain cartography conference in Australia, in Germany, on the border there, up in the Alps, and it would be. And then Janet met me, and then we did a trip through Italy. So going back to Bolzano and then up into the Dolomites and.
Oh yeah.
So
hiking.
So a lot of hiking, and also had a chance to work with a group in Nepal, in Kathmandu. It's the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, and they look at the Hindu Kush Himalaya area. They do mapping, and so I did with Joanna Merson. We did a cartography workshop there before COVID, and started working with them on a gender atlas, looking at gender issues in the Hindu Kush Himalaya. So hoping maybe I'll be able to start working with them. This is something I could do in in retirement, is maybe continue helping them or helping them, but just doing a little bit of work with them on that atlas project. So. That's an idea. It'd be pretty neat to go back to Nepal. I really enjoyed that experience.
That place seems amazing. Yeah. I would love to go there.
I did a trek in the Annapurna or the Annapurna area in the conservation area, and that was really remarkable. Just a really beautiful place.
We were talking earlier about. Mutual friend that was on the you know him better than I do, who was on the podcast, who hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. Have you ever had an inkling to do that? Has that ever appealed to you at all? That kind of extreme hiking. That's what I would call it, extreme hiking.
Yeah, no, it's I can see why people do it. I think early on I read a book. This was back in the 80s, called Pacific Crest Odyssey, and that was before it really became, it wasn't as popular. But I think I had always had that in the back of my mind. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to do, but I don't think I had the there's just so many other things to do,
Right.
to dedicate that much time. But I know Bob Welch, and he wrote a book on it, on doing that, and then of course Stu, who you're talking about, that drive, and it, it's really it becomes kind of like a way of life being on the trail.
Oh, right.
And I can see that appeal, but I haven't really seriously considered that. One thing I would like to do, and I circumnavigated or did the circuit around the Three Sisters, which is nothing compared to like doing the PCT, but it also is really cool to hike, and that's like I don't know if it's 60 miles or 50 miles, and that connects the trails, and you can kind of see the sisters from all different sides. It's like a 3-night, 4-day trip.
Oh wow,
and that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and then you can do something, and then there's the trip, and there's the one around Mount Hood, and then around Rainier. The Rainier is called the Wonderland Trail, I think, and a lot of people, and that's pretty rigorous. I don't know if I'm up for that, but that would be a pretty cool thing. So I think that would be kind of it's kind of in the same vein of maybe doing the Pacific Crest Trail, but it's just much shorter and
in a shorter, little less commitment.
Yeah, well, a lot less. Yeah, the logistics.
Still,
but I think
amazing.
Long backpacking trips are pretty cool. The Wallowas, there's a lot of really great places to backpack in the Wallowas.
Right.
So.
Well, I'm amazed how kind of crowded those things are getting. 'Cause it doesn't seem like very long ago where if you did one of those hikes that you wouldn't see many people, but it's not that way anymore. You see a lot of people.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good and it's bad. It's good that people are getting out there, but
yeah, they just implemented the new permit system, like in the Deschutes National Forest, and I got a permit for the Green Lakes Trail head, and it was pretty remarkable how I was able to like just go there and get a parking space and didn't see like a ton of people.
Oh, that's good.
So we did that last week, and we hiked up towards Green Lakes, and it was really quite pleasant to, it takes planning, but you don't have like 300 people in the parking lot. It became a real issue of really hard on the environment when you have that many people.
Yeah.
So there's pluses and minuses to the permit system, but I think it overall I think there's a lot of value to that, to protecting protecting those places, and then also making the experience much nicer for the people that when you're there. Yeah.
We're going to Redwoods in September. Hopefully it'll be a little bit slower because people are going back to work, but that place can be really crowded sometimes, but it still, you can disappear pretty fast into the trails.
Yeah.
So
that's a magical place. So
it is. Have you been to Tall Trees there?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to tell people how to get there, but there's kind of a secret grove that is a little bit harder to get to, and so there's way less people there.
Yeah. No, that's really those trees are magnificent.
We love going there. Realize we haven't been there for 5 years. We were going there every year for a while because it's so, I don't know, it just changes your energy when you go there. Really, really different deal. So yeah, finally getting back there. Hopefully get back to Hawaii soon, but we decided to paint the house instead for now.
Well, that can be rewarding in its own way.
It's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be great. I didn't realize, we got the roof done, so we needed some touch-up done, is what I thought. But we had someone over to look at it and realized, okay, needs a little more touch-up. But now we're all excited because it probably will not need painted again, ever. So, yeah, exciting.
We're working with a landscape garden designer on our front yard and our side yard, and Janet really wants to include a lot of native species, so that's pretty exciting to go through that process and
and
rip out the invasives and So so we're doing that this summer. We're in the process of that. So it's fun working with a designer. And I think about design and layout and things. So it's kind of fun to see a garden, landscape designer.
Oh yeah.
How their perspective and how they approach it. And so we're in the design process right now. So that's been fun.
That's really fun. Yeah, Heidi's always done all the design for our little garden area.
Yeah, we are.
But that must be interesting. Have someone come in that has a different eye, does it professionally.
Yeah, it needed it. It was. I've kind of let the invasives kind of take over. So,
okay.
Yeah,
it's hard. That's hard not to do in Oregon.
Yeah,
really hard not to let the invasives take over. That's really tough.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably wrap this thing up because it's really hot in here.
It's warmed up.
It's warmed up. It's not that hot outside, but the studio is small. Yeah. So, I will do the little you've been listening to. Were you still talking? In my studio today, I've been talking to Jim Meacham. He is a cartographer, geographer, now semi-retired, absolutely amazing Atlas of Yellowstone. If you have any interest in getting it, you should go to Yellowstone and pick it up in the gift shop. And Wild Migrations is another one that's still pretty new. I had to explain to a lot of people what an ungulate is when I told them I had a friend that did a Atlas of Ungulates. So pick up the book and then you'll find out exactly what that is. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate you stopping in, giving it a listen. Come back soon. Be sure and share it with all your friends. Jim, thanks so much. It's been so awesome.
Thank you, Joel. Yeah, this has been great. Really
I hope
talking with you.
Yeah. It's been a very interesting conversation. Always learn so much. And what do I say? Oh, be good to each other. And be good to yourself. And I'll hit end now.